lot of people in society can't fully express themselves for who they really are. So what they do instead is they wear a mask, they pretend to be somebody that they're not, and they people please instead. So people pleasing is just a compensation for a lack of being fully authentic and a lack of expressing who you really are. So that's when you have people pretending to like things that they don't really enjoy. That's when you have people trying to be somebody who they're really not. This is where you have people being inauthentic. This is where you have people not fully expressing themselves, not enjoying their life, not really showing who they really are at the core. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to stop people pleasing and how to fully step into your power instead. How to stop people pleasing and fully step into your power and express yourself for who you really are. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because I do post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to work with me personally one-on-one, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. So you got to realize people pleasing is just a compensation for not being comfortable with expressing yourself for who you really are. That's all people pleasing really is. Now, the first thing I want to share with you is that people pleasing is not about being not nice. That's not what people pleasing is about. Because what the people pleaser mentality is that you're afraid to actually express because you feel like you're going to hurt other people. You feel like it's not nice. I'm not saying that you have that in particular, but the people-pleasing mentality as a whole, if a person is a people pleaser, they're actually very afraid to actually share how they truly feel. They're afraid to share their opinions. They're afraid to share how they truly feel at the core. And this is where you have compensation. But it's really just a lack of authenticity. And the fear that they have is that they're afraid to share who they really are, because what's going to happen is they're afraid that they're not going to be nice. But I want to share with you that that's a great thing to have, because what that's showing is that the person has a heart, that the person wants to help the world. The person wants to impact the world in a certain way. And that's beautiful. But sometimes what happens is that actually works against that person. The person people pleasing, not only the other people don't usually like that, also it doesn't serve you as well, because you're losing your own energy. You're letting other people drain your energy. You're letting other people take advantage of you. Now, here's the thing I want you to understand is that the best, I know that you have a big heart, or not you in particular, but anybody that actually people pleases. The thing with people pleasers is that they have a big heart. They want to change the world. But the thing to understand is that when it comes to actually changing the world and impacting the world in the most powerful way possible, the best thing you can do for you and the world is to stop people pleasing and fully express your truth and unapologetically be who you are. Because when you're people pleasing, you're not honoring yourself or that person. So maybe you're temporarily being nice by wearing a mask, but the truth is that's actually a disservice, and it's a lack of honor towards yourself and also the people around you in your life, whoever you're people pleasing to. This is all just a lack of self-love, which is the first thing I want to share with you. People pleasing is a lack of self-love. That's all it is. And when I start talking about being who you really are, doing things for yourself, expressing yourself how you really want, what people quickly assume is that's very selfish, that's very rude, that's not a selfless thing to do. But in fact, the most selfless thing that you can do is not to people please, because that's a disservice to both parties. Temporarily, it might seem like you're being the nice guy, you're pretending to like things that you don't like, you're pretending to be somebody who you're not, but that's keeping you stuck in life, and that's also giving that person, you're feeding that person a lie. You're living a lie. You're living a lie. That's a disservice to both parties. That's a disservice to both parties. You got to realize being a people pleaser is a disservice to both parties. You lose, they lose. Now, the interesting thing about people pleasing is that it's all coming from a lack of self-love. That's all it really is. When you begin to love yourself more, when you begin to connect with who you really are, what happens is that you stop people pleasing because now you love yourself. And at the beginning, when you're going through this transition, you might think that you're being rude and you're being selfish because of the way society has conditioned us. Society has conditioned us to not feel good in our own bodies, to only do things for other people. But here's the thing, when you love the self, you also love the other, okay? When you love yourself more, that's how you change the world. And this is a huge paradox because what most people think is that to serve the world, you have to push all your energy out. And yes, to a certain extent, that is true. But if you're only pushing out with no feminine balance, without bringing the energies inward, without having some of the energy within yourself, within you, your true self with the capital S, not the false self, what happens is that you begin to be a people pleaser. And this is a disservice to both parties. And guess what? It's all coming from a lack of self-love. That's all it is. When you truly, truly love yourself at the core, if you truly are connected to who you really are at the core, what happens is that you stop people pleasing and you change the world. Now here's the thing, some people may not agree with your truth, but the people that agree with your truth will stay in your life, and those are the people that are meant to be in your life anyways. Because if you're living a lie, do you want somebody to be in your life based on the narrative, the false narrative that you presented to that person? The mask that you put on for that person? Or do you want people in your life that accept you fully for who you truly are at the core? And that is how you actually stop people pleasing, is you love yourself more. You connect deeper to who you really are. You start to love yourself more. You start to give yourself more space. You start to actually do things that you really want to do. You start to follow your passion. You start to meditate more. You start to go into nature more. You say, hey, wait a second, I actually have to love myself first before I can love somebody else. And this is what actually allows me to help the world in a powerful way, because I can't help the world by being a fake person, by wearing a mask, by living a lie, by being aligned with falsehood, with the ego. You got to understand that when you're truly speaking your truth aligned with your heart, this is what will allow you to be not a people pleaser. Now, the second thing you can understand when it comes to how to stop people pleasing and fully actually stepping into your power as an individual, who you really are, still being nice, still helping people, in fact, helping people in the most powerful way by just being in your power, is you got to understand that being selfless and serving the world means that you are actually loving yourself. The only way to serve the world is actually to love yourself. That's the only way you can actually serve the world. You can't serve the world if you can't love yourself. This is the thing that people don't understand. If you can't love yourself, you can't serve the world. So it doesn't make you selfish to love yourself. It means that you're being selfish if you people please. People pleasing is more selfish than loving yourself and meditating, because selfishness is just another word for ego. That's all it is. Selfishness is ego. Selfishness is unconsciousness. And if you're just doing things for other people, and then I start saying things like, what about you? How about your love? People say, okay, yeah, you know, Francis, that's really selfish. That's really selfish to put yourself first. That's so selfish. But the thing is, when you're truly selfless, when you're truly completely aligned with no self, you're automatically going to be aligned with actions that serve the world in a powerful way that will change people's lives for the better. Because you love yourself. So you start meditating, you start connecting with your passion, you start doing what you love. And then before you know it, you're changing the world, and you started off by creating boundaries and saying, hey, I don't want this in my life. So what started off as selfish from society's point of view, where you went within, you started meditating, you started saying no to people, you started putting yourself first, you should to love yourself, bring more consciousness inwards towards your own self, then actually leads to you changing the world in a powerful way. So that person that created a boundary then ends up, impacting millions of people across the world. Does that mean that they were selfish when they created that boundary? Does that mean that they chose to love themselves so that they could then create a much more powerful impact in the world because now their cup is full? You got to realize sometimes we want to do things for other people for our own approval, which is technically selfish. So think about it like this. A lot of times we think that we're helping people for us, right? It's like, oh yeah, I want to help this person. We think that we're helping people for them, right? It's like, I want to help this person. I want to help them for them. But what if I told you that people pleasing is not for them, but it's for you? It's for you. So you can get the approval, so you can feel good. You're not like, this is the people pleaser thinks that they're actually helping somebody, but what they're really doing is they're protecting their ego and they're actually getting gratification and approval. So it's like, imagine you people please somebody by doing something for somebody that you don't really want to do. You didn't do it for that person, you actually did it for yourself because you wanted the little high that said, oh, I did something for that person. That's being selfish. You see, because rather than putting yourself into your power and also putting that person into their power by being an example of being in your power, instead, you fed into their ego, which dishonors both sides. So I hope I communicated that the right way, but people pleasing is actually very selfish. It seems like it's a selfless thing to do, but you see, the ego flips everything backwards. The ego flips it all backwards. Really, truly, the most selfless thing you can do to change the world is to, in each moment, focus on loving yourself as much as possible. If you dedicate every single present moment experience of the time that you're here on this planet to loving yourself and turning your energy inwards, that doesn't mean that you're meditating all day and not doing things for people, because that love to yourself will end up doing things for people. You'll be inspired to take actions that will serve the world from that state of love, because when you love yourself enough, automatically what happens is you want to spread your love to the world. That's how the shift in consciousness starts to happen. You love yourself, then you're filled with so much love that all you can do is share it with the world. You just want to share love. I want to share love. I want to give love to this person. I want to give love to that person. Not in a lovey-dovey way, but just being present in each moment. You got to realize love is just another word for presence. Love is just another word for a deep connection to consciousness. Consciousness is love. So if you're meditating, if you're putting consciousness in all your traumas, all your issues, you're saying, hey, I can't actually deal with this person. I have to go meditate and let go of this anxiety. Is that being selfish? Is it selfish for you to say no to somebody and then go deal with your own traumas because you have traumas buried up in your body? Or does that make you somebody that's actually selfless because you're trying to let go of your own self? So the key is to understand that what you're doing here is you're loving yourself so much in each present moment that what happens is that you end up automatically aligning with inspired action that will also spread love to the world as well, simply because you love yourself to such a high degree. You love yourself to such a high degree that you start spreading that love to the world, and now you're not being selfish, you're being selfless. You gotta realize people pleasing is just a mask. That's all it is. And a mask is being fake. A mask is being aligned with a lie. Wearing a mask, a narrative that you were conditioned to believe is you, that is not really you, is coming from a place that's not real. It's not really you. It's not the truth. When somebody asks you, hey, do you like this film? And you say, yeah, actually, I really like, you don't like the film at all, but you pretend to like that film. That's not being truthful. That's being a liar. You're being a liar. You're being dishonest. And the truth is that you're just lying to yourself. That's all you're doing. If you're not being honest with that person, guess what? You're not being honest with yourself either, because self is other. When you love yourself, you love the other too, because we're all connected. So the key is to understand as well is that people pleasing is just a mask. That's all it is. People pleasing is just a mask. It's not you. It's not who you really are. It's just a fake narrative that you were conditioned to believe is you, when it's not even you. It's a mask. It's a fake sense of self. It's not the real you. It's a fake sense of self that you believe is you, that has nothing to do with who you are as a spiritual being and as consciousness and as formlessness. You see what I'm saying? It's all the conditioning. It's all the fake parts of you. And you're just pretending to be somebody that you're not. Like, tell people how you really feel. Don't lie. If you lie, you're not being selfless. If you lie, you're being egotistical and selfish. You see what I'm saying? And this is so backwards to the ego, because the moment that you start doing this, the moment that you start loving yourself, the ego hates that, because the ego wants you to feed into that selfishness. It wants to feed into that. It wants you to people please, even though at the very, very core, you're doing a huge disservice to yourself and that person. Even if in the short term it seems like you're being selfish and that person gets hurt, what you're really doing is you're loving yourself and loving that person, because the self is the other. So the key is to understand that people pleasing is a mask. And if you wear this mask, you're not going to express yourself for who you really are. And you're thinking, Francis, I get it. How do I stop being a people pleaser though? You just share the truth as it is. You tell people how you really feel. You love yourself more. You stop feeling guilty for not wanting to do things and wanting to do what you want instead. But you come from a place of presence. The key is to come from a place of presence. If you do this from an unconscious space, then you're being egotistical and that's selfish. So if you're doing things for yourself out of a space of unconsciousness and judgment towards the other, then of course that's not being selfless. That's still being selfish, right? You're saying, I don't want to deal with this person's energy, so I'm going to go inwards. That's kind of what I'm saying, but like at the same time, I'm not saying that at all. I am not saying to judge somebody else, put judgments towards other people, to say why we don't like the world, to project all our hatred towards the world, and then instead to push that away and then go into ourselves. It's actually to see that we are all connected. We are all one. We are not separate. And the more that you love yourself, you're going to begin to accept the other too. But don't come from a space of, I hate this person, I have to go into myself. It's like, no, I accept this person. I see them for who they are. But I really need some space right now. Or somebody asks you, hey, do you want to come and do this with me? Can you do this favor for me? And you just think to yourself and you go, you know what? Like, actually, I can't. Like, I really don't want to do this. And if it's hard for somebody to share the truth, guess what you do? Share with the person that it's hard for you to share that, but you don't want to do it. You could even say that. You could even, like, some people, like, this is a big tip I want to share for you if this is a problem you have in your life. If it's hard for you to not be a people pleaser, then say that too. Say, this is hard for me to say, but I don't want to do this. Speak the truth. Speak all of it. Even the parts that are hard to say that it's hard to say. So sometimes people ask me and say, Francis, this is hard for me to share. How do I say it? Well, start off with that. Say, hey, this is hard for me to share, and then here it is. That's already going to make it easier for you to share, is let them know that it's hard to share. The key is to be aligned with truth and own fully who you are, and realize that you're allowed to be unapologetically who you are without guilt. And if you feel guilty, say, hey, I feel a little bit guilty right now, but I kind of want to go within myself. Sorry. Don't even say sorry or say sorry. Just speak the truth. I would say don't be apologetic ever. Don't ever be apologetic for wanting to be alone. Just lay the boundary. And as hard as it may be, just let people know the truth. Even if your voice is shaking and it's hard for you to say that, as Ralph Smart always says, you gotta speak your truth even if it's hard. Even if it's hard for you to share that thing, even if it's hard for you to express, even if it's hard for you to be in your truth, even if it's hard for you to express who you really are, you have to say it anyways, because otherwise you're being selfish and you're dishonoring yourself, who you really are. You're dishonoring your own being and that person and the world. And the key is to stop people pleasing and fully express who you are and share the truth unapologetically and own fully who you really are. So that's all I have for this video. Once again, if you want to work with me personally one-on-one, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. Have yourself a great day as always, and I'll see you in the next video.